and welcome back to Back Corner Comics. Today, I kind of wanted to introduce a new format to the channel, and that is going to be a discussion video. And please chime in the comments below. I would love to hear your thoughts on what we're going to talk about today. And what we're going to talk about is Fantagraphics filling a space that I think is going to need to be filled in the American comic market. So let's get into it. So in October of last year, Humanoids Publishing filed for Chapter 7 bankruptcy, which, if you don't know who Humanoids Publishing is, they publish a lot of European comics here in the States. And specifically, I believe the part of the company that filed for bankruptcy was the American arm of the business. And so that's kind of concerning because Humanoids has primarily been the source of European comics for decades, right? And I think it leaves this void that hopefully Fantagraphics and other publishers can fill. So just to kind of back up for a second, Humanoids has published a lot of Mobius and Jodorowsky titles, and then they published a bunch of other stuff that maybe I'm ignorant to, but I believe that they're big horses they were relying on were Jodorowsky titles and Mobius titles. And there's nothing wrong with that, but that seemed to be like all that they had, like there was like so many Inkle books released. You had the Inkle book that Jodorowsky did with Mobius, which is the main one, right? And then you have the one that he did with the artist of what's his name? Something Jimenez, but he did the Meta Barons with Jimenez, and that was another big thing for them. And then they did Techno Priest, and then that blossomed out into a bunch of other, smaller titles focusing on various characters from the Inkle universe. So that was like their big thing, their big title that they bet on. But as far as I know, that was all that they really had. They did release this amazing, beautiful Jimenez book that focused on some of the solo work that he did, and that was really good. Humanoids recently brought back, Metal Hurlant, which is the heavy metal magazine. And to think about, humanoids had so much prestige and now they're kind of just withering away. I don't know exactly what they're planning to do with their titles that they were planning to publish. I imagine other publishers are going to pick them up or, fund the releases. Again, I don't know exactly how any of that business stuff works, but I find it very interesting that now Fantagraphics, who has been publishing, these Antilo Micheluzzi books and also the Milo Manara library, they also publish these, European Disney books, which, this is a fantastic one where I believe it's Italian cartoonist working on it. And I find them to be in a unique position to be able to kind of like show force in that market and to have a big presence alongside other publishers, But I wanted to kind of specifically talk about where Fantagraphics can go because, like I said, they're publishing these titles by Antilo, and hopefully they release more books from him. But sorry, I knocked the camera. But some of the ones that I've seen have been fantastic, or the two that have come out have been fantastic. And the Farewell Song of Marcella Broom is this really good title that focuses on a political thriller during World War II, and it focuses a lot on political espionage and all those things. The main character Marcella Broom is really cool. He gets all the ladies, gets all the honeys. You know how it works, and it shows a side of European comics that I don't think we've necessarily seen before. Where you have this title that's been in obscurity, and then Fantagraphics is bringing it over. Petra Cherie is no different. Um, this is a really great, fun read. It feels like Terry and the Pirates adjacent, And all of this stuff was published in Pilote magazine, which had a lot of great European cartoonists. Tardy is one of them. Now, I don't want to make it seem like, Fantagraphics is now just starting to publish European cartoonists, because that's not true to any extent. They've been publishing Tardy for years, and they've published these really great World War I Tardy books that focus on his family's lineage. They published Tardy books that were like these really great pulp noir stories. But I just find it very interesting that now they're kind of showing up. It's a coincidence, right? But they're showing up with these really great hardcovers of, either cartoonists we don't get over here, or cartoonists we've got over here, but in new ways, new premium ways. Like this Milo Manara library is just fantastic. It's beautiful, and they're gonna look so good on the shelf when you have like 10 of them. Hopefully, we get that many. But here's the magnificent adventure of Giuseppe Bergman, which was kind of Milo Manara's like adventure character. And I don't know. I imagine this was published in Pilote. I could be wrong, but these stories are really good. And outside of a library that Dark Horse was trying to put out of Manara's work, we've never had a complete Milo Manara collection here in the States. So to think that Fantagraphics is betting on Milo Manara, which is a safe bet to me. I don't know what happened with Dark Horse's release. I don't know if the profit margins were too low for them because they were publishing like all these other stories that, like Hellboy and like the Mignola verse. That does very, very well for them. And I think that's their bread and butter. That's what really makes them a lot of money. And so maybe they decided to cut the Manara library short, which they never completed, to be able to focus on other aspects of their business, which, good for them. They're putting out these amazing deluxe editions of mangas that they've had in their vault, or, new manga in great deluxe edition, etc. We'll talk about that one day. But I just find it so interesting that now we're getting these amazing books from Fantagraphics, and they're doing all of these Manara books. Like this is a beautiful release, and it's a very good story too. I haven't read volume 2 yet, but I really need to. And as you can tell, it's Milo Manara, so it's amazing work, you know. And they also publish these. So this isn't really what I'm talking about today. Like this right here, they would publish it regardless because it's a Disney book, but they've been the only champions of European Disney cartoonists for like the better part of a decade. So every catalog you see from Fantagraphics, you're getting great European Disney comics. And I find that so fascinating. So I do think Fantagraphics is in a unique position to kind of take over this market that Humanoids is going to probably be leaving behind. Again, I don't know what the general idea is that they're planning to do with their publishing arm here, whether they're going to shut it down completely. But obviously, filing for bankruptcy is not a positive thing. And Fantagraphics is continuing to publish these libraries into 2026 and beyond. We're gonna get another volume in the Magnificent Adventure series pretty soon, which would collect 2 stories from Giuseppe Bergman. Hugo Pratt's amazing Corto Maltese is getting a release from them too, which is, again, that's a big European title, you know. And if Fantagraphics is publishing it, it's of quality. They're like the gold standard for indie comics. They're the Criterion collection of titles released here. They're re-releasing the Extraordinary Adventures of Adele Blanc-Sec, which again, that's a title that they published previously years ago that's been out of print, but they're bringing it back in a hardcover. So it feels like maybe it's just a synchronicity, or however you say it, but maybe it's just that, and that's what's going on. But I love the idea that Fantagraphics is going to come in and they're going to publish these premium editions of these European comics, these European cartoonists. Like the fact that we're getting, Hugo Pratt's Corto Maltese from them, and hopefully we get more. It seems like that's going to be the case. If they have like, a Milo Manara library, and then a Hugo Pratt library, and then an Antilo Micheluzzi library, I think we're going to be in a really good spot for European comics specifically. And like, just look at the way they present these Manara books. It's soft cover, And at first you're like, oh man, that kind of sucks a little bit, you know, because they're not like beautiful hardcovers or whatever. But the truth is, this is a, like pretty much original printed size. These are the album release size that they would do in Europe. So that's a big plus. You know, the Milo Manara Dark Horse hardcovers were standard size comic books, and I'll be honest, I had them, and they didn't really feel that premium. They felt like a whatever type of release. But here, Fantagraphics is providing them in the biggest, the biggest way possible outside of like what would be like, I guess, an artist edition. So these are premium. They feel premium, and they're priced good too. They're priced at a good price. I think this one costs what, 30 bucks. This is $25, you know? So just imagine the price is attractive, the book is attractive. It's Milo Manara, that's already attraction already, and I think these are going to go off well. And I think Humanoids had like a really big pricing thing too, where a lot of the hardcovers felt a little overpriced. So I think by selecting specific stories to publish first, Fantagraphics is going to get ahead on a lot of these titles and a lot of these sales, and they're going to be in a position to continue them, which again I applaud and I think is amazing. Starting off with Milo Manara's Caravaggio, I believe this is the most recent thing he's done besides that like Sin City thing that might be coming out. I don't know. They announced it like literally 5 years ago. I guess we'll see where that ends up. But like going first with Caravaggio, who's a well-known artist, which just makes sense, right? And then it looks attractive. It's beautiful, you know. So yeah, I don't know like how longer I can go without just like constantly repeating myself. But I think that Fantagraphics is in a unique position, and I think that they're going to seize the opportunity, and they're going to be one of the biggest publishers for European comics. They've kind of, like I said, I'm not trying to make it sound like they're just starting now, but I think with Humanoids filing for bankruptcy, it leaves a great opportunity for Fantagraphics to really come in with these amazing releases, you know, some old, some new, in the case of the farewell song of Marcel Lebrun and Petra Cherie. And they're going to be able to come in and say, hey, we're Fantagraphics and we're really proud to be publishing European comics, and these are the titles that we stand behind because we're Fantagraphics and we only publish the best of the best. So yeah, that's just kind of like my thoughts on it. I would like to see what you guys think about it. I mean, losing Humanoids is pretty big. Like I think we can all agree, whether or not we like the constant reprintings of the Inkle or whatever, they still were a presence for European cartoonists to have their stuff put out here. And I know they just recently launched that whole Kickstarter thing with, Heavy Metal and Metal Hurlant. And I don't know where that stuff goes. It's like this big question mark in the comic book industry. And I think we just have to wait to see how it plays out. And I just also wanted to highlight some of these amazing books. We will be doing overviews of these at some point. I just need to like get through Petra Cherie and then have like thoughts on it and stuff. But yeah, so that is the discussion video. I rambled a little bit, but I feel like it's hard not to ramble when you're talking about stuff like this. So but I would like to hear what you guys think about European comics, and how do you feel about Humanoids not being around anymore? I probably repeated myself 100 times, but whatever. This is the first time we kind of do something of this caliber at Back Corner Comics, and I'm excited to do more discussion videos and to be a little bit more confident in making them. But yeah, so this is Back Corner Comics. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.